Hola, Manuel Barrera. I'm recording this using Google Meet, and I'm learning, I'm practicing, I'm used to using Zoom. So, for instance, right now, I'm sharing something, and it's to my left. I don't know how you would see it once the finish with the video, but one of the things is that with the Supreme Court ruling, there is really a good chance that Sylvia Garcia will lose her Congress seat, probably to a African American. I'm not exactly sure. I know one of them is Slater. He's constantly asking me to donate money to him. Uh, the other one that may be running, I'm not 100% sure yet. We'll find out on Tuesday next week. Monday's the deadline for people to sign up to run. It's probably a former city council member who also ran for Senate District 6. That's Whitmire's old Senate seat. With everything that's happening in the United States, and there's a lot of things happening, but for the Hispanic community, probably, especially if you watch Univision, I don't, my wife does. And because I sit there on the computer, I can often hear what they're, especially when the news are on, what they're saying. And so one of the things is what is happening around the United States. Right now it's New Orleans. When ICE and their masked goons go around, if you look Hispanic, there's a good chance they're going to stop you and they're going to ask you to prove that you're Hispanic. For many of you, you were not here, you were not born back in the 40s, maybe the 30s, maybe even in the 50s, to see what it was like here for Mexican Americans. And I say Mexican Americans because at least in the Southwest United States, it was probably all Mexican American. There might have been a few from some of Central America and South America, but there were not that many. East Coast, probably Puerto Ricans, but there was no internet, so you didn't get to see as much as to who's where and what's happening. But with what's happening with ICE, and it's in the news. It's in the news quite a bit. What is our Hispanic politicians here in Harris County talking about? Well, it's not about what's happening to the immigrant community. And it's also happening to citizens. It's happening to residents. But you don't hear anything from them. And I don't understand that. I really do not understand that. Back in the 50s, during Operation Wetback, initially, Cesar Chavez and the GI Forum, Dr. Garcia, were in favor of rounding up people that were here illegally. They were really gung-ho. In fact, the GI Forum even put out a little booklet. If you do a search of my website, you can find it. It's free. You can download it or you can read it there on my website. And you can see that there was no love for people that came here illegally. As Cesar Chavez said, we can't have a union and we cannot have decent wages as long as people keep coming here from Mexico and working for much lower wages than us. So, but what they soon realized is after they started Operation Wetback is that we all look the same. You can't tell someone if someone is a legal Mexican or an illegal Mexican. Now, if you talk to enough people, and I have, because of the jobs that I've had, I've met people from all over the world. I can usually tell based on their facial features, if where they're from, or at least if they're from Mexico and they have a lot of indigenous blood, especially like Mayans, their features are different than mine, for instance. Northern Mexico, most of them will probably look a little bit like, well, maybe not me, I'm old now, but when I was younger, assuming they get old like me, then they probably look like me. And so, but they soon realized that they were picking up US citizens. And it was a little bit worse then, but not much, because they would just pick them up, put them in trains, put them on buses, put them on boats, and send them to Mexico. Uh, didn't matter whether you're a US citizen or not. So, and it's happening to a smaller degree right now, and it probably will get worse unless people speak up. And the people that we most need to speak up are the Sylvia Garcias, the Ana Hernandez. That first on the left, that's Ana Hernandez. I don't think has said anything about illegal what ICE is doing and what is happening to the Hispanic community, the immigrant community. But there she is, a Facebook post about how unfair that they're picking on us poor Hispanics. Well, they're not really picking us on poor Hispanics. I'll be honest with you. The politicians, the Hispanic community, the Hispanic leaders have just gotten lazy. They've gotten lazy. They've gotten used to everything being handed to them. They need to get out there in the community and they need to work for their vote. They need to convince Hispanics to come out and vote. The only time, actually twice here in Houston, that I've seen the Hispanic community come out and vote on a runoff election was when Ben Reyes ran against Gene Green. There were more Hispanics that came out to vote then. The other time was when Bob Lanier ran against Sylvester Turner. In that election, more Hispanics. Bob Lanier really worked to get the Hispanic confidence and to get their vote, and he succeeded. But ever since then, people have taken everything for granted. Ben Reyes lost because a lot of the people, that ran at the same time, one was El Luna, I believe Silvia Garcia also ran. They turned around and supported Gene Green. Now, I didn't particularly care for Ben Reyes, but I knew that if Ben Reyes lost, we would not have a Hispanic congressional in Congress here from Harris County until Gene Green decided to retire. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. And then Gene Green even picked the person he wanted, Sylvia Garcia. So Sylvia Garcia is not the community's person, so it's I'm going to have to start moving much and waving my hands like I see some of those podcasters do, or the Joe Rogans and some of the other people, because I keep getting messages asking if I'm still here. Well, I'm still here. You would think that the program could hear me talking, but anyhow, so let me move my hands every now and then. But you would think that they would do something. Back in the 70s, we actually had more Hispanic representation based on the percentage of Mexican Americans that were here than we do now. But I and many others used to go out, go door to door, whether it was just papering the neighborhood, knocking at doors, you know, calling, but mostly it was walking and talking to people. And that doesn't happen anymore. And so maybe has happened, losing the 29th congressional to a Hispanic, maybe that will be a good thing. Maybe it will motivate people that they have to go out there and start working the Hispanic community. Uh, I'm not okay. I'm not sure what's happening here, but the other person, there's Sylvia Garcia. Republican Supreme Court justices are allowing the racially gerrymandered map to be used in 2026. Well, you know what? It is. It was racially gerrymandered. It was, they have a combination of enough Hispanics and just enough African Americans and not too many whites where a Hispanic would win it. The new district is going to have uh, still the majority is going to be Hispanics, but the African American community is going to be close behind. And guess what? The African American community votes. So Sylvia Garcia needs to wash out. Then there's Christine Morales. Now, Christine Morales is a state rep. Same thing, a racist map. No, it's not a racist map. Mario Castillo, God bless his soul, he's more interested in the gay community than he is in the Hispanic community. But Robert Gallegos was the same way. Sometimes they forget they were born Hispanics before they found out they were gay. Maybe they need to go back. And I say that because one of the persons that I know, she's very well known in the gay community. I once asked her something similar, and she said, "Oh, I was born a Hispanic before I found out I was lesbian." So Hispanics still were first for her. I'm not so sure now, but back then, you're Sylvia Garcia again, Leslie Briones. So it's I'm not really sure how to. There you go. At least that's a little bit better. But I know how to use Zoom. I'm learning how to use G Drive or Google Meet. But maybe it's not a bad thing. So they need to go out there. Maybe Sylvia will. Maybe she won't. Who knows? But she's going to have to go out there and work the Hispanic community, convince her to vote for her. Otherwise, what I would suggest, if she's not ready to do that, is that she drop out and not run for the 29th and put her name for county judge. I think she would have a good chance of winning county judge because right now we have two people that I'm aware of that are running. One is Anise Parker, and there is no way I would vote for Anise Parker. She's another one that puts the gay community above the Hispanic community or any other community for that matter. Dr. Plummer, she's probably a good person, and if it's only her and Anise Parker, I will support Dr. Plummer, and I will donate some money to her. But Sylvia, we're probably going to lose her. There's a good chance we're going to lose Leslie Briones also, because she doesn't work the Hispanic community. It's I've been to some of her meetings, and her idea of her listening meetings are we listen and she talks. I always seem to think that when they're saying that we're a listening meeting is they're going to listen to what some of our concerns are. So, but I guess they have a different concept. Maybe they're like me. I'm starting to enjoy the sound of my own voice, which reminds me of another saying from a long, long time ago. And I'll stop with that. Where somebody said, actually, it's supposedly a Viking saying, "Every man loves the smell of his own fart." Y'all have a good evening. Bye.